Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Adobe Office Hours. My name is Andrew Hochradel.
I am Nick Longo.
There we go. We got it finally. We nailed it. That was actually,
Pros.
I think,
Pros.
that was our smoothest transition we've ever had. Just know, and then I literally say the word, and then I start playing audio that just blasted everyone's ears. So sorry. And hello, yes, you've seen a lot of us. Just know that right before I came on camera, I literally told Nick to shut up. So that's how we're gonna go today. I was like, shut up, stop talking. So welcome to the show. You've probably had a lot of us this week. We were here the last couple days with Nick. Nick, do you want to talk a little bit about what we did the last couple days?
Yeah, we did a 2-day packaging Adobe live stream where I took a current box that we were working on for a client. They came up with this idea to do an influencer box, and it was the first time we've ever had to do something like that. And in 2 days, we designed the box. We took it into Dimension. We showed how you could make these 3D samples. And then the coolest part, and what I've heard most people talk about, was how we brought it into Aero and did it in augmented reality right on your desk. Shared it with a client as well, did a little video of it, and they were blown away. It's just
So cool.
such a fun time. Yeah,
it was so
that was
cool.
great.
So Cody, if you can grab that link, I'm sure at some point we can post that link for you guys to catch up, watch those streams. It was a super fun stream. But yes, this is the third time that you're seeing us. This is hour 5 of Office Hours with Nick and Andrew this week. So thanks for joining us. If you are new to the show, hello, welcome. This is Office Hours. It is a show that currently is to give you feedback on your portfolios, to help you level up your general creative workflows. And even if you aren't a designer, hopefully you're here to learn. We're here to give you some advice. So this show will be changing in the future, which is very exciting. Today we'll be asking you guys to give your opinions and your thoughts on how we are going to be changing the show, which I am so freaking stoked for. Right? So before we get into that,
Good
there's
stuff.
a couple ways that you can get involved with the show. The first is going up here to our Slack link. This is the first week in the 5 months that we've had the show that I have realized this is not indeed a Discord link. This is a Slack link. So yes, check that out. It's a good place to get involved, to connect with other creatives, and to really delve into the full potential of your portfolio. The other thing that I want to talk about, and Nick, do you remember the other announcement that we need to make today? Put you on the spot.
You did.
All right, I got it.
Oh, I think what? No,
you go for it.
The poll.
Not the poll, but we are doing a poll. I'll let you do the
Yes.
poll. How about that? I'll let you do the poll. We are announcing today that Adobe Portfolio has launched an offer for 2020 grads. They are giving you Adobe Portfolio free for 1 year to all graduates. So you can check that out on Adobe Portfolio on the website. I'm sure that there is an offer that you can find there. It will give you 1 year. It's a super, super great and awesome service to have, and a great resource to really up your portfolio. So check that out. Nick, would you like to talk a little bit about what we are talking about today? It's going to be a very fun and interesting day.
Very in-depth too. This is the process. This is all about the stuff behind the scenes, the things that we've got to do to expedite your time, your energy, your strategy, how to work faster, how to work smarter. I love this because a lot of this is like the non-design talk, right? Like, we're not going to be talking fonts and other stuff like that. We're going to be talking about things that we each do to make the process better, stronger, faster.
Yep.
You name it.
Yep.
Yeah.
Harder, better, faster, stronger. Yeah. This is, yeah, sponsored by Daft Punk. This is 100% the show, and this is a little preview into where we're going to be taking office hours. Is we want this to be something that's just general help. Even if you are a history major at a college, you probably have access to Creative Cloud, and you can probably
Totally.
leverage it to better your workflows. And so today we're going to be talking about process, how it can help you in a whole bunch of different ways. Graduates of what? Graduates of university, I believe. I
Yeah,
think maybe high school as well. I think that it might be university graduates, but maybe high school as well.
dude,
Um,
that is fantastic.
not sure. And yes, Katrina, we have been calling it Discord for the entirety of this show. Um, all right, so let's hop in and just start talking today. We're going to
Let's
spend
do
a
it.
bit of time today walking through some of the ideas. There are a lot of quotable tweetables that are happening here today. So if you want to, you can tag Nick or I on Twitter, take a screenshot. My Twitter is just hoch.co, HOCHDOTCO, all spelled out, no punctuation. And Nick, what are you?
On Instagram,
Or Twitter.
Twitter, Longo Designs Inc. Hit
Cool.
me up there.
Yep.
Let's do
So
it.
make sure that you hashtag Adobe Office Hours. That also is the place that you can submit to get your portfolios reviewed. So we are going to hop in today. Let me push the button. Wow, what a smooth transition. Let me move over
I'm
just a
just
little
taking
bit
your word
here.
on it.
There we go. Yep, close enough.
Excellent.
Okay, cool. So today we are talking about expediting your process, working faster and smarter. For full transparency, this is one of the first slide decks that I have made. Nick does a lot of the heavy lifting, so I'm very excited to go through this one. Um,
But you do such a good job because I like you are your quote. You're like you said, your things are very like quotable, and I love this. So I'm excited
yes.
to go through this. This is gonna
So
be
yeah,
great.
that's what
And we
today's
got
going to
some
be. Grab your
good
phone
samples.
and take a picture of the screen or just screenshot us. Um,
Yes.
and yeah, put these in your notebook. Take these little nuggets, dig them in some sauce. Just sauce them up. All right, so today we're talking about expediting your process. And the first point is obviously that process is important. If you've ever heard me talk, you've heard about why, you've heard about defining the how, defining the what, the questions that you need to answer. And process is
Mhm.
so important because without a how, the what and the why don't matter, right? Even if you have the
Yeah.
greatest idea, the greatest solution, all of that, if you have the greatest thing, it doesn't matter if you don't know how you're going to do it.
Yeah. Yeah. Because
Um,
it's like it's the whole point. It really is. You
it
know.
is. And Nick, how do you use, I guess, like when you're talking about process, how
Hmm.
do you define like the how? Like within when you're doing it, you're like, oh, cool, here's what we're gonna make. Oh, wait, I need to stop and like define the
Yeah.
how.
I love building the stages first for me, primarily to see what the process is going to be like. I like having the roadmap for myself just to kind of understand it. But after doing that, it's something shareable to your client. And I think it keeps them in tune with not only the dates and the priorities and everything else, but they're never questioning what's coming next because I've shown them how we're going to do it. So
Yep,
to me, that's like the key to it because it's making it better for both sides of the project.
absolutely.
Yeah.
So moving on, this is where we get really deep. For doing your process, right? A process is basically the steps that you take to get to the end goal, right? We talk a lot about defining what the goal is with your client, about how to set up and start. The process is all the steps that you take in between.
Yes.
And what you need to do with the process is have a roadmap that you can drive different cards with, right? And that basically means have a set process that can change and adapt to the client.
Yes.
You want to create structure so that it can then vary in whatever the product is. I think, Nick, you've talked about this of
Mhm.
adapting things to a client and having like custom solutions.
Yes.
Where does that fit with having a process, but also like doing custom solutions?
You know, having a few areas where it's very optional, can go either way, or it can completely change is very natural. And I think once you go through one or two of those, you realize that like you can predict them now. And a lot of times, sometimes I feel like sometimes I come up with that before the client does. And as long as you've built trust with them, I don't think there's, I think it's actually, you're looked at and your perception is even greater if you predict something and say, hey, I think it's gonna, we should shift to this. Just like we were talking yesterday with printing stuff, when you can find a way to save money for the client and you bring it up before it even becomes an issue, you're winning. Before you're even telling them about it.
Yep, 100%. And
Yeah,
we'll get to that point too of that you're really looking out. And so the
exactly.
roadmap is basically having like a choose your own adventure where you've read the whole thing. Right? You're like turn to
Yeah.
page 27 or page 24 and you're like do 24, do 24. Oh, they did
Yes.
27? Cool. I know what to do on 27. Let's keep going.
Yeah.
Is you have to have a plan and know where those roadblocks are going to be so that you can maneuver around them when they happen. Very
Yes.
often I'll go into conversations with the client and I'm like, cool, at my fifth point, we are going to completely stop and you're going to have so many opinions. So I know
Yeah.
that. And I know in my process, I'm going to have a set aside time to work through that specific thing.
Yeah.
So that's really important.
Do you ever give them, like when you say it's the choose your own adventure thing, do you sometimes in this roadmap, do you give them like uh, a split in the road to say like option A or B, because maybe up front it's still, you're still learning the client and you want to give them some options to feel that they're driving a little bit. You know what I
Yes.
mean?
Yep. And
Yeah.
that's part of having this roadmap is that, right, that sometimes when you plug into like Google Maps, it has like three different ways. And it's like, this one's
There
an
you
hour
go.
and a half. This one's an hour or
Exactly.
whatever. I have those so that it's like, cool, there's a bunch of ways that I can take you through this. I have a plan to take you to the goal. We can augment that in 4 or 5 different ways. And depending on
Yes.
how you communicate and depending on like even like personality profile of the client, that kind of stuff, I'll say, cool, I know that you like to be more hands on. I'm going to completely run the hands on process. Oh, you like to
Exactly.
just see stuff? You're totally going to just
Yeah.
see stuff and that's it. So having
Yeah.
different variations of the process, again, that roadmap helps you adapt and shift.
Totally agree.
Next up is document, document, document. If your process is not written down and is not documented, it doesn't exist and it doesn't matter. Right? Then it's just like you
Yes.
talking. And so you want to memorize it. And the biggest thing, and this is what I love doing, is you need to be able to communicate it both to the client and to other creatives. So that if you're working with subcontractors, if you're working with the client, you can say, hey, here's where we're about to go. We're going to do X, Y, Z. And then from there,
Yeah.
I'm going to take you here and there and there. And my creative process is going to work like this. You won't be a part of that, but that's how I'm going to work through what I'm doing creatively. Then
Yeah.
I'll come back and do this. Then I'll come back and do that. Um, yeah.
And you've just set it for to use that template 80%, 100%, 20% on the next project, right?
Yes.
So that roadmap, I know 9 times out of 10, I'm probably using the exact same structure of my document and all of my steps. You could change it up, obviously, if the project changes, but isn't that a great feeling knowing you have something, you have a
Oh, yeah.
folder, and it's just like, oh, all I got to do is make a few changes to this one, and how impressive you look. You do it once and you got it forever.
Yep, staying on the office hours theme, it's basically making a
Yeah.
syllabus for yourself, right?
Mm-hmm.
That I taught for a long time, and my syllabus literally I would just have to go in and change dates, and I'm like,
Yep.
cool. Here are the new dates of if you have that for your process to say, here's how I work creatively,
Yeah.
here's like how long it takes me to do these different steps, and then when I get a new branding client, cool. I literally just need to plug in dates because I know that this is going to take 2 weeks, that takes me 1 week, then I'm going to take them here, and
Exactly.
that's going to take 3 weeks. So Elizabeth says people often focus
Yeah.
on doing things rather than the process of doing things. Got to focus on the means, not just the ends.
Oh,
Absolutely.
preach on. Because like
Absolutely.
I still have those tendencies, especially if I just got a very exciting job to turn around in like 3, 4 days. And I went right to designing it. And I was like, stop, 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 stop. Right. Because
Yep.
you already like, you have the idea in your mind, but you're like, it's worth it to at least clarify, even in the smallest projects. Go to the client real quick, do a quick roadmap, do a quick idea, do a quick, like, capture and say, can I move forward?
Yep.
Now you're saving your time too.
Yep.
It's just very smart.
And Jiratima has a great question that we're actually going to get into. How do you maintain
Good.
your process when you're working under an employer? Sometimes the way of work just doesn't go with our process.
Ooh.
That's 100% having to adapt that. And so we'll get into that point.
Mm-hmm.
Not next. Okay, but after this one, I think.
Good.
So my next point is this 3 steps. This is very, very important. Expediting your process. You need to learn the tools. You need to know the tools, and then you need to completely forget the tools.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that this is like the weirdest thing to think about, but it really means that using resources like Adobe Live, like the daily creative challenges, you need to learn how to use Photoshop, how to use Illustrator, how to use all the things that you're using. And hi, Keith is in the chat. Keith Aguilar, we are reviewing
Yeah.
some of your
What's
work
up,
today,
Keith?
so nice to see you. So you need to learn these tools, and that section is fine to be like totally terrible at. Like that's the section where you're like, I'm just learning, I'm trying to figure it out. And then next, you need to know the tools to where you say, cool, I'm pretty confident. I know how
Yep.
to do that right. And if you have a portfolio, we've talked about this before, don't put like stars because we've used the comparison that saying you're proficient in Photoshop is like a carpenter being proficient in hammer, right? You
Yeah.
should just know the tools, right? It's okay to be
Yeah.
learning, but then once you're ready, you should know the tools and then forget the tools. What I mean by that is you should be so proficient in knowing the tools that you're not thinking about the tools anymore. I can't tell you how many times I'm designing and I'm
Yeah.
creating something and someone's like, how are you doing that? And my brain is literally like, I don't know. It's just happening. Like,
Your your fingers are, yeah,
yep, it's almost
exactly.
like playing a piano with a song you've memorized that you're just hitting hotkeys
Yeah.
and going. You're like, I don't even know what hotkeys I'm
Yeah.
using. I'm just hitting because it's all muscle memory at this point. So that's what I mean by
Yeah.
forget the tools.
Yeah.
And that allows you to run your process and your creative ideas to just flow through straight into the
Flow.
computer. Yep.
It's totally that flow. It's like with everything, with sports, with anything else that you're mentally trying to be your best at. The flow is fantastic. Just the other day, I swear I was doing something and I went to, and I think my brain froze because of an alert or something. And I was like, how do I create outlines in Illustrator? And I was like, what is the command? And I literally just put my hands on the keyboard, looked at the screen, and my fingers did it without even, I
Yep.
was like, it's so true. You forget the program.
Yes.
And what a great way to put it. It's so true. That's the way you get to know it. Yep.
Absolutely. Let me change. Sorry, I'm having a little bit. There we go. Let's see if this helps. I had a little bit of connection issue with you, but I
There
think
we
it's
go.
because I
Good.
have my monitor also set on
Okay. No
1080p. So
worries.
I'm going to turn our YouTube to 144. Just know that I am watching us in the worst possible quality.
Just in case.
It's like looking at a potato. Um,
I
so continuing on,
love it.
yes, learning the tools, and then you'll just forget about them. And that is incorporate the tools into your process until you don't need to. So it's
Yeah.
cool. Next, I'm going to take this over to Photoshop, start doing an Illustrator. Now I hit a point where I'm like, cool, now I'm just going to make it. Because I'm like, cool, I don't know. I might be in Illustrator, I might be in Photoshop, I might be in InDesign. Who knows where I'm going to be? But I know that the
Yeah.
next step in my process is to execute the idea that I have.
Yeah. Yeah. I love it.
All right, continuing on. This is not the one, Girotima. I promise we're getting there.
It's coming there.
It's coming. It's coming. Just get it. Yeah, just wait for it. So the next is find the answers before anyone asks the questions. This is a part of your process where not only are you getting to the final goal, you are running a process and giving a roadmap past that final goal,
Hmm.
right? You're solving the problems that haven't been asked yet, and you have to have in your process, okay, let's think of where the process continues to once the client is on their own. And so it's something that when you do that handoff, when you are communicating, you move into a zone where you're answering questions in the future.
Yes. Ooh. How can you do that though?
I think
Experience,
it
right?
really is experience
All
of dealing with
experience.
clients and
Hmm.
then running yourself and putting yourself into your client's shoes. Put yourself into
Yeah.
your client's shoes and basically just think like, okay, what are they going to have questions about? I need to take my designer hat off and just be like the gen pop, the general population, and think, what's confusing here? What issues do we see in the future? How is this going to be in 3 years? Um,
Yep.
all of those things. So I very much, and I actually run projects by my project manager every now and then. And she is the Gen Pop. She's a little more creative now and a little more savvy, but she's my Gen Pop to be like, hey,
Hmm.
here's the system. Here's how this is going to roll out. How are you going to engage with this in a year? Like if I just handed this to you, how would you work with it?
Yeah.
And that gives me information to say, cool, here are the questions that the client's probably going to have. Let's figure that out for them.
Yeah, yeah. This is also, I think, one of those things where if you do a little analysis of each project you do at completion, make those notes about things that really worked great, things that didn't. And if you have a hard time kind of keeping track of things, or if you're not learning from prior experiences, by taking these notes and doing a little self-analysis of it, even asking, I give a questionnaire to the client saying, how did this go? How did that go? So those are those tools you can use now to make sure each time you are looking ahead, forecasting a problem in the future and seeing it, like you said, before anyone has even like discovered it.
Yep.
So there's great ways to get around there as well.
Absolutely. All right. This is still not the 102, but I have no idea what order these slides are in. I'm
She's
so
just getting
sorry.
so much information. It's
I know,
overwhelming.
I know we're getting there. So, expediting the process. So the next is do things wrong if it gets done faster. So I had an idea for a show that may be coming to Adobe. I actually haven't pitched it yet, but maybe it will. And it's basically doing things the wrong way. And
Hmm.
it's stuff like understanding how data merge works so deeply that I can do stuff that I should be doing in Illustrator or Photoshop through a data merge in InDesign, right?
Hmm.
And it's solutions like I like to do for my clients when I build a system. And if you've been watching any of my streams with the church that I've been working with, their system is built on these set of pebbles that have different patterns in them. And so I built a font that is those pebbles. So instead of delivering a bunch of EPS files to them, I give them, hey, here's the font. Anytime you want one, just hit any keystroke and I'll put one in there.
There you go.
And so sometimes the way that you think you're supposed to do it like takes away from the idea of what how you could do it. And so a lot of times the right way is not the fastest way. The way that
Yeah.
you've learned in school, the way that we've taught you,
Yeah.
may not be the
Yeah.
fastest way. And you need to like if
Yep.
you're expediting and trying to work quickly, understand those tools so that even if it is wrong, you can push yourself to get it right in the end.
Oh yeah, and that's trial and error. Because
Yep.
like, how many times are you doing something over and over again, and you realize there's got to be a better way with it? And like how you figured it out with turning that into a font, like it's a keystroke away now, and
Yep.
it might not be the proper way, like you said. But I love it when that happens because again, you've made both lives easier, theirs and yours. But it's just a matter of looking at like it's a frustration. I think sometimes like we were saying the other day, where you got to get hit with something to before you really turn your how you approach something, how you change something. You got to
Yep.
get like almost like punched.
Yep.
This is a perfect example, you know.
Absolutely. Have you done anything that you're like this was so wrong, but it didn't matter because I got it done so fast and it like worked right?
Yeah. Yes, and as a perfect example, I know nothing about motion,
Okay.
nothing about any motion based application. I know Keynote inside and out. So putting together animation in there for quick things that I need, it's so like people would laugh at it, but when I use it, people go, "How did you do that?" I'm like, "Hmm."
Yep.
You
Yep.
know? So again, it's like not made for that. It's but I figured things out. No one knew you can turn it to a 16 by 9, portrait. And you can. So it's just trial and error.
Yep,
It really is.
100%. And I have definitely, I had a client that I was building a website for, and I wanted to do this super complex parallax.
Yeah.
And so I didn't know how to do it. I knew that my web dev knew how to do it, that I'd hired out, that I'm like, he'll be able to figure this out. And so I literally did a screen recording in Photoshop, separated the layers, and just
Yeah.
like held down the up arrow so that it
Yeah.
slowly went. And I was like, so here's your new website and how it's going to work. And that's it. Like it literally took me like 20 seconds to just
Yeah.
separate a layer and then show it. Sometimes, yeah, using these tools and doing it in unconventional ways, that's so wrong to do it in
Yeah.
Photoshop, but it totally worked, and it sold the
Just
project.
keep it behind the curtain, babe, and no one's
It's
gonna know.
it's so true, and I mean it's the same thing with using clipping masks.
Yes.
If you heard me talk or if you watch the next stream in my daily creative challenges, we always do clipping masks because I think it's so important. And I always say it's like what's happening here, right? That this is
Mm-hmm.
total like it's very composed on this stream, right? And we're all cut out and it's really nice, but in reality, there is utter chaos behind me in my
Yeah.
bedroom, but you guys can't see that. And so that is what this is cool. There's probably like total chaos, but if it looks right, I literally am sitting next to like Jack in the Box over here, and there's a poster over here and clothes over here. But we figured out a way to do it that's faster than me building a studio in my bedroom. So
Yeah.
why not?
All that matters is that frame,
All that
and
matters is right here. Shoot for the
it
camera.
almost it goes with anything we've just said about this slide. It really works that way. It's as long as the end result works, makes it efficient, you're good to go.
Yep, absolutely. And Keith, I don't know how to do parallax effects in websites. Neither do I. That's why I hire web devs. All right.
My website does it automatically for me.
Oh my gosh. All
Yep.
right, Giratima, this is the slide for you. This is the mantra that I live by, that I think everyone, every creative, everyone who works in anything that makes anything should be living by this. I think it's totally crazy, but I think that it's important. Is you
Hmm.
should be able to do anything in a day, anything good in a week, and anything great in a month. So that timeline is you should be so proficient that you should be
Hmm.
able to do these, right? That you should know your tools, know your process, and this is how you test your process. When you need to do something in a day, right, Jiratima, if you're working for an employer and they're like, hey, I need this tomorrow, you should be able to say, cool, this
Yeah.
process that I have that's a month long, I have a 1 day version of that, and I'm going to run that 1 day version, and we're going to get it done. It's going to suck.
Yes.
I'm going to ship it, and it's going to be terrible. I'm going to hate it, but we are going to get it done by working the process. And the same thing of stepping that
It's
up.
an expectation.
It's an
Yeah.
expectation that it will always get done, but the quality allows for it to get, or the time allows it for it to get better and better because you're able to work the process.
Yeah. You should add one right before anything but anything in a day. It should be something in 30 minutes.
Yeah,
Because
right?
like I love that
Yes.
idea. I give 30-minute challenges. Like so they're my version of pop quizzes in my class. And they have no idea it's coming, and I'll do it right in the middle of a lecture. And I put them on a timer. I'm like, you have 30 minutes to redesign the Snapchat logo. Go.
Yep.
And they're like, what? Going like that. But then they're killing it because like a year later, they're like, my boss needed something in 30 minutes and I could do it. So
Yep.
you're right. As long as the expectations are there, this is killer.
Yep.
So
And
so on track.
Cody, stress is a great motivator, but yeah, it sucks. I disagree. So I think that stress, if
Mm-hmm.
you have a process, you don't ever have to be stressed.
No,
You
you're
don't
right.
ever have to be stressed about making something. You can be stressed about the timeline, but if you have a process, it helps to take that stress away. And even
Yeah.
though you are stressed, you can be stressed and it won't stop you from working. I think that I do agree that
Maybe
stress is a great motivator.
timing is the great motive, but don't get stressed about it is what you're saying, right?
Exactly, yeah. And
Like a
you
very
can have,
short timeline is stressful.
yep, yeah, you can have stress, but not to the point where it stops you working, I think is what I want to communicate there. So not
Yeah.
that I disagree, but the stress that is like, oh my gosh, I'm never going to do this. Like, it's so stressful to get this done. It's like, cool. It's going to be
Yeah.
stressful and it's going to be a push, but I know exactly where I need to jump and just keep going. And yes, somebody
Yeah.
said, where is the
Perfect.
slide that says you need to be more like water? I actually think you need to be more like slime because you need
Water.
some structure,
Yeah.
but be able to adapt it. Water just is willy nilly, like they can, the client can throw you wherever if you're water. But if you're slime, then you can adapt and still have your own structure.
Yeah.
All right, I think that's it. No, no, no. Okay,
Hmm.
that is it. But we're
Yeah.
gonna get into part of my process. So this is my process. I have pared it down to 3 steps. Again, I want it to be able to do this. Oh my gosh, what was that sentence I just said? I want to be able to do this in right that 1 day, 1 week, 1 month. And so here are my 3 steps. I examine the
Hmm.
past, I consider the present, and I create the future every time. Every
Hmm.
project, those are the three. So I can kick that out and go really fast and do that in a day. That I'm like, cool, let's do research for 30 minutes. Let's see what's going on in current events for 30 minutes. And then I'm going to spend 2 hours working on something new that is a reinvention of that. Or, cool, I have a month to work on this. This is going to be crazy awesome. Um,
Yeah.
and Giratima, yes, sometimes they don't give you enough time. You need to be able to adapt that process down to the amount of time that they give you because that's all that you have. And so
Yeah.
it really is just practice and timing and really pushing to refine that process. Like this here, right? This is literally 3 steps. I can do something really crappy in these 3 steps, or I can do something really amazing in these 3 steps based on the
Yeah.
timeline, right? If you give
Yeah.
me 30
Exactly.
seconds, I can look and be like, cool, here's something that happened in the past. It's happening right now. I don't know, some riff on that like makes it a combination of those two. Done.
Yeah.
Of trying to figure out what that is.
Yeah. That was great. Because you're right. I think you could break that down into any time zone. As long as you're thinking this way, it's going to make for a more robust kind of end result. If you just went balls crazy and like, just did it,
Yep.
this is great. Yeah.
Yep.
I love it.
I think that takes us to, do you have any other closing thoughts, Nick? Because we are going to go into a little bit of an announcement.
Yes. I love this idea. I think just the idea that we are really stressing to kind of learn from each step of the way, make notes, find what makes you better, what makes you stronger, what makes you faster. I think we're giving overall great points. But again, it's like that stuff we've got to figure out a lot of times for ourselves.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
All right, cool. So that is our lesson for today. This PDF will be uploaded into the Slack, which you can find right here. You can check to that. And speaking of
Yeah.
bit.ly links, we have another very special one for you. And that is we are going to start talking about the changes that are coming to Adobe Office Hours in just a few weeks. And here's the pitch to you all in chat. Nick, do you want to tell a little bit about what we're trying to do? Oh, Nick?
Yeah. So our
Yeah, go ahead.
idea is to, yes, can you hear me?
Yes, you cut out for a second.
Are we
You're good.
good?
Yep.
All right, good. We are putting together what is basically a semester. So we are going to look at this as if we are both building a curriculum for our class, and we will have daily instruction. We'll have tons of inspiration, tons of great examples. We'll also have homework. We're going to have a midterm. The final is really you putting together one of the best case studies you have ever done for your portfolio. And hopefully that'll give you a model to build for everything else that you're doing to present yourselves. And it's just a supplement to everything else you have. We know you're probably not, maybe a lot of you aren't going to physical classes. So as much as we can give you extra instruction, that's our goal. And that's our hope with what we want to advance this to.
Absolutely. So
Yeah.
this is something that we're trying to launch, and we are going to be giving you a syllabus. We will have a designated place for you to get information, to interact, and it's really something that we want you to invite your friends, invite other students, reach out to your universities, let them know that this is happening. And so we'll be talking more about this in the next few weeks to really ramp it up, because it is a free online class taught by two instructors that have 20 plus years of teaching experience. So it is going to be a very, very fun time. And that link that we just dropped into chat is just a quick little survey to let us know if you want to be involved, to let us know if you'll engage with homework, to help us really craft the class to you. There's also a question: if there's something you want us to talk about, go ahead and put that in there. And just know that my favorite thing is that there is a Halloween spooktacular coming.
Yes.
Just know, like, my favorite day in class was when class laid it on Halloween and you could come to class in costume. Just know that there will be an office hours spooktacular. I will be in costume, and it's going to be so much fun.
Can I share a little side bit there? We looked at the list. We looked at all of the available Fridays between now and the end of that semester, and we're like, okay, where do we start? And Andrew just goes, oh, Halloween Spooktacular in the end of October. That was
Yes.
we basically built the entire curriculum around that one day.
Yes. And good question, Justin Roy. Is this a beneficial if you aren't a student? Yes. So this entire course is not focused on any creative discipline, not focused on any age group. The entire course is just talking about how to improve yourself to get a job, to reach out to clients, to improve your workflows, to better use Creative Cloud libraries. It is literally for everyone that makes anything across the board, right? That we can show you how to use Creative Cloud libraries to better work on your term paper for your biology class.
Yes.
We are really going to expand how we can use Adobe products outside of using Adobe products in the way that we think. So it's going to be really fun. Lots of theory, lots of explanation, and hopefully big for everyone to get involved, which is really fun. And yes, Keith is a teacher. We have talked about this a little bit before. All right, so that is that. Make sure you fill that out. We're going to go into one thing real quick. I know, Nick, you have an example. I'm going to just show this real quick because we don't have a lot of time. So I'm just going to hop in and talk about the idea, right, of my examine the past, consider the present, create the future. This is a project that you can find on my Behance, and it is the idea of retelling the Easter story with the context of the Dada movement. And so this was my step of examine the past was, let's look into the Dada movement and the values and core concepts that were there. I found in the past it was a great destructive, negative work of description to be accomplished, to wipe the slate clean and affirm the cleanliness of the individual with their state of madness. So I thought that's interesting concept. And what's happening today is cool. People, I think, are used to hearing this Easter story again and again and again, like a million times. Like, it's just, people have heard it a million times. So let's take that context of the past, put it through this idea that people have heard it a million times, and create something that they've never heard and never experienced. And so he smashed the styles together and created this awesome experience of the Easter story using photo montage, using collage, and a lot of these movements that are happening with the Dada movement. So you can check that out on my Behance, and it's just a great example of that process.
Yeah, that's great.
This was a start to finish working that process. I had enough time, and so we were able to execute and push through each step of that process.
Love
We
it.
even pushed that process all the way to doing a physical art gallery outside of the digital realm. So again, if you're an industrial designer, process still matters.
Yeah. Oh, beyond crazy.
Yes, beyond. All right, so that's it for our lesson. Let's hop into portfolio reviews. Go through some. I know that Keith is in chat. Our friend Monika is coming here, and Nick. Let's close out today if we don't get cut off talking with looking at your example of the process.
Perfect.
I just want
Let's
to make
do
sure
it.
we get to the reviews first. Let's go ahead and move over to Monika. For some reason,
All
my
right.
brain literally just wanted to pronounce that Monika. And I was like, there's
Monika.
no way this is Monika. This is Monika. It might be Monika. I don't know.
It might be no. Yeah, it might
Let us
be.
know if
You
you're
never
here.
know.
It actually is probably the middle of
Yeah.
the night because she is from India.
India.
So nice to see you. A lot of friends are from India, and she is an illustrator and designer and artist. So let's go ahead and take a look overall when we land on this page. Nick, do you have any thoughts on the overall composition of the page?
Yeah, I
in our
like seeing artist first as in her title. I haven't seen that in a while. It's usually we think that might be too vague sometime to use, but I kind of like that. And I think right off the bat, just seeing some of the stuff here, I do find one or two here I want to look at this lockdown days because that looks like really, really cool. I want to look at character design. Where do you want to start?
Yeah, I think I want to start in like a couple little pieces that are kind of overarching advice. So for you
Great.
guys that are watching and girls, sorry, I always say guys. So for everyone that's watching, we like to give advice that is general that you can apply to what you are working on, to your portfolio, to what you're presenting to clients. And so I think the thing that you said is yes, creating a label for yourself is sometimes good and beneficial. It doesn't have to be anything. So I refer to myself as a creative for hire because I do everything creative if you pay me money.
Yeah.
Nick, I think what do you refer to
I say
yourself
brand
as?
specialist.
Cool.
I like to maybe even remove the design creative part out of it to even be more of a professional in it, like more of a consultant.
Yep. So figure out who you want to be and just own it. And then I love down here that it has artist and then it starts to explain and has a nice little bio over here on the left.
Exactly.
So I think in introducing your audience to who you are is so important.
Yeah, I like to see. I do notice sometimes clicking on some of these, and people are not taking advantage of the Behance links, the bio. Like really, really do that, guys. I think sometimes it just seems a little light or a little like maybe there's not a lot of like care in that, and it's giving you all these great things to do. So take advantage of it. You know.
Absolutely. Yeah. Let's hop in to the lockdown days
Yes, let's
because
take a
I am
look.
interested as well. Oh man, this I know this is the weirdest, most specific thing, and this is something that like only a designer's heart. The line weight on
Yeah,
this is gorgeous. I don't like I don't know why, but something about the line weight
yeah,
is so gorgeous.
this looks great. This looks really cool. So I guess the idea here is like, yeah, some really good stuff to kind of go along with it. I would say drop the font, and that's the first thing that's shining out to me. Keep it all handwritten, even your text.
Yep.
Do you agree? Like it's screaming out that you used a font to me.
Yeah, I agree, and especially because I literally like commented on the line weight being so cool. Like that it has so much personality, so much story. I don't know why, but I'm just like so into it. Having
Yeah.
that same like line weight on your type when you're like writing that stuff out is going to be gorgeous.
Yes. Yep. I
Like,
just want to see a little more unity there
yep.
between that.
Absolutely. And the way that you're doing your colors and your patterns, like this feels very interesting, very editorial. It would print really well. I think the illustration itself is amazing. But I
Yes.
think that type, having it hand done would be great. And
Yeah.
then what do you think about presentation of having like the images stacked? What do you think about that?
I'd love to again just see some structure in what you're showing me. Are these elements that are used separately throughout an article or something? Because it just feels like they're stacked up against. I don't know where maybe one ends and one begins. So those divider lines that you can use on portfolio would maybe be helpful, and give us a title of to like this one was set all by itself. This one is a series, whatever it is. Um, and I think that could help out a little bit. But maybe I'm looking at it quite big, but the scans or however you brought it in digitally feel a little on the low res size to me. I'm seeing a lot of pixelation. I don't know if you're seeing the same.
Oh, I'm not.
Yeah,
Oh, interesting. Yeah, it looks pretty clear to me in most of the places. It might be maybe the line weight is a little wonky.
yeah,
Yeah, I don't see anything here. I would love to see, almost it laid out like a comic. Like even if you're
yeah.
putting just like a box around each of these so that it kind of goes through,
Yep,
because it does feel like it reads like little comic things, or putting a frame on it of some sort to just make it feel more gallery.
exactly.
And yes, the vertical stroll is used more commonly for webcomics. 100%. I would put some kind of frame to tell me that it is going together, even if it's that divider between, that it is a story that keeps going.
Yeah, she's calling it a series. So
Yep.
again, like block them off, like where, and then maybe do you turn them into t-shirts on, is the art shown on a tote bag or something to kind of help break the just one after another. That's all it would probably need,
Yep.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
really
Cool. So
cool.
yeah, great job. Great job presenting that as well. I think it had just enough work in there, and I think it
Yeah,
like told just enough story. Let's hop over and look at these character designs because I am very excited
yeah,
to look at this as well. It's so
very cool.
cute. Look at this sketch.
This is great.
Cool.
Love
So
it.
right off the bat, we've told you all a million times. Always have a description right at the beginning. I did
Mm-hmm.
a one-on-one with someone yesterday, and we went through and we're just like, cool. Here's the header you need. Here's the description you need. Here's the header you need. Here's the description you need on every single
Yep.
one of those projects.
So
And
you
so I
got it here. This
love that
looks
you have
great.
it.
Mm-hmm.
The sketches of the process, you're holding my hand through it, right? It's like, here's the sketches that I worked on. Here are some of the ideas expanded, keeping
Mm-hmm.
in, and then here is the final version. Oh, he's so
That's great.
cute.
It's got different expressions at the
Yep.
very end. So I love that. I'd love to see just maybe one showing where does this character live? What's the environment? Maybe, what two or three props behind the character to tell me about like the space that it kind of occupies.
Hmm.
That'd be the perfect little end slide. And you'd taken us through and gone through there. Maybe
Yep.
even tell us about, like, you could do some stuff even in the sketches, like where it says, this was the happy face, this is the angry face, this was the
Yep.
surprise faced or whatever, right? Like, again, just a tad bit more of info would be really, really fun.
Yep, and I could do some of these sketches smaller so that I don't have to scroll
Yes.
as much to get to the final.
Yeah. Yep.
But I think having one big version of him and then having three underneath, like side by side of the other expressions would be good. I
Yeah.
also it would be so easy to crop this into a little app icon shape and then put it on a phone that it's like
Yeah.
it's a mobile game
Mm-hmm.
of where does this character exist. It would be so easy to put him in a little thing and just be like fireball or whatever,
Yeah.
and it would just be super easy and go a really long way to have it in
Yeah.
that kind of app.
Even too, be kind of fun is if because it's already done, it looks like you did it vector, it's all digital, make a dupe or two of these and show what additional characters could be like in opposing colors or something totally different. And
Yep.
maybe one's always happy, one's always angry, one's always surprised or something like that. Could be great to show. I think a lot of people want to see when you're doing character designs that you can build a family, and
Yep.
that would just be a great way to show it.
Absolutely. Cool. So great
Cool.
job. Let's hop over to Keith's. Keith is here
Yeah.
in chat. Hey, Keith, what's
Keith, are
up?
you ready?
Are you ready? Keith from Vacaville, represent NorCal. What's up?
Yeah. What's up, man?
I'm from El Dorado Hills, so love it up there. All right, cool. Let's look at some of these. Any Nick that you want to pick out, or actually talk
I have
about
to I have to
initial?
start with the beer. I have to start with the beer one.
That's
Yeah.
true. Nick is like the beer guy.
Let's check it
Yes.
out because I really love the logo. I think that's fantastic. If you are here, I know you were here. Yeah, it looks like this is all real. So I'm assuming this is a real client you did some work for. This is really, really cool. So you've got menus and displays. Did I see menus? I didn't see a menu. Let's see. So you've got taproom photos for menu and display at the bottom, but I want to see some menus, I guess.
Yep.
Grab
Yep.
something
I
in
agree.
there, right? I'm assuming if you've done this and it is a real job, you've probably done a ton more stuff for them. Get them in there. Like, I think there's a great way to show not just the logo applied again to 3 or 4 different things, but have you done any mailers for them? Have you done social media for them? Have you done a mural or a poster for them? Um, Enrich this with some other applications that show that you have a system, and it's not just the one thing that we can repeat over and over again, if that
Yep.
makes sense. Yep.
The lighting on this glass is gorgeous.
Oh, so I guess maybe the photography was used for the menus, if that's what he's saying.
Oh, maybe that
That could
is.
be it. Yeah,
Okay.
perfect. But
Got it.
mock up a quick little menu, do a sales sheet for them. Show, have they done, even if they haven't canned yet, maybe explore what that first can release would look like, or a limited edition. A lot of these brands, anything in wine, food, spirits, things like that, show a special edition, and it shows that you can adapt a brand and make it like extra special where they would charge more money. And it's kind of a neat way to show you can expand a brand. It's flexible, and you built it to be able to do all these different things under one house.
Yep.
That would be really fun.
Yep. And it looks like as I'm going through here, it looks like there's a mix of photography and
Mm-hmm.
design. So I would somehow note that in your titles. To just have like a dash photography, or even like noting that it's wind turbines photography, or it is, House of Skate logo design. And that way
Mm-hmm.
for me, like, we don't look at something that you have photographed that's like, okay, cool. What is his part in this project? Or just define that as we open it.
Yeah.
So looking at these wind turbines, oh, it's taking me home. This is gorgeous. So I think, again, gorgeous photography, really like tells a story. Gosh, this last one is like album cover good.
Oh
Um,
yeah, that's really
the
nice.
grain
Look
on
at
there is
that.
gorgeous, like cotton candy. But I would, again, show us where you can apply these. If you are making menus for clients, if you are doing logo designs, take these and like, I could literally see just giant text in the top left that's
Mm-hmm.
like, the future of clean energy, and then at the bottom it's
Oh,
like
totally.
Born's Technologies, and then now it's an ad, and that way you can
Yeah.
show like, oh, this can be used for other things. And I think that helps me or the client to differentiate between the like hobby photography and commercial photography, that when I see it in an application, then it is commercial photography to me. I'm like, oh, he's a commercial photographer. And if I see it kind of as a like series, it's like, okay, is it like it's a fine art series that we would put in a gallery, or is it something that we can buy for like advertising?
There you
Um,
go.
so
Or
either
show
way
the
you want to do
versatility
that.
of both.
Yep.
You can do a split at the bottom and show how versatile your photography is. Also, too, I'd say going back up to the very, very top of this, again, make sure you're using that header to your advantage. So get some hierarchy in there. If wind turbines is the title, get it a little bit bigger or bolder, and then give yourself a good copy or a good line, a sentence or two telling what the objective was. And then, like we were saying at the very end, show my photography is totally versatile. It can go the route of, just art and being sold, or it can be commercial and be used in brochures or in some kind of a movement.
Yep. And a great rule of thumb for those descriptions is don't tell us what it is, tell us how to feel.
Yeah.
And that will get you really into it. That if, it's, wind turbines is the big title. And then underneath that, it says like showcasing the strength of clean energy and the beauty of a
Beauty.
sunset. Like
There
we
you go.
tell us like, what's that story that you want us to experience?
Love that. That's a great idea.
So moving in,
Keywords, man. Keywords.
keywords.
They make a
Yep.
big difference.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Do we want to look at some of the
Let's
design
scroll
stuff?
down. Let's
Yeah.
scroll
Oh yeah.
down
Let's scroll
because
down.
I think one thing we wanted to mention, Keith, was like you can obviously see the kind of advancement in your career and in your talent and everything else. And I'm guilty of this too. You scroll down to the very bottom of stuff, you might have some things that could be probably better to not have, I think, on there. Do you agree?
Yeah, I think that
You
there's some
know?
stuff. There's the Woodies is actually a really good case study,
Mm-hmm.
and I think that there is stuff like the yearbook covers. I think when looking at your some of your other design and as well as your photography, I think that there's a disconnect between like the level of photography and then the level of some of the design. So
Yeah.
like this stuff with the yearbook covers, I don't think that that's like selling anything for you. And then I think that some of the ones in like the mid zone, like the IMS, is a good case study. The same thing with the Woodies. You have good case study. You can build them out a little bit more. It's good solutions, but I think that
Yeah.
there are a couple that you could just take out. I think the high school ones for sure could go. And then, is this solar system from my daily creative challenge when we did solar systems?
I
Um,
think it was. I think I
that's a
saw
fun
something.
illustration. That's great.
Yeah.
And so I think that just going through and figuring out, I think the best one that you have for design is probably the Armano football stuff,
Yeah.
and the solar system. And so anything that feels like it's not that, on kind of within like 2 or 3 steps of quality, I would just take it out. Because I think that you do have stuff in here that's like, yeah, this is good work. It's not the
Hmm.
best, but it's good, and totally sells your diversity. And so really play around with curating this down,
Yeah.
to just the essential things that you really want to show people, and then continue to step up from there. Because some of this more recent stuff is really gorgeous, and then some of the stuff that has been posted in the past from like the high schools is a little bit more on. It feels more like student worky beginner side on some
Yeah.
of this.
Yeah. And Keith, I noticed too, like I'm sure you might have a website or something, tie it into Behance because you never know where they're finding you first,
Yep.
particular as a freelance designer. And I noticed you have what looks like a logo down below with your Keith Austin Designs. If that is your current brand or you're doing it, I'd love to see that maybe somewhere incorporated in your header or even just watermarked
Yep.
in that beautiful photography you took. And maybe even in that header, you put, art instructor, freelance designer, and photographer, like space that out a little bit. Just don't make it difficult for anyone to communicate or understand what you're trying to communicate here.
Yep.
You might have to hold their hand on, give them a few little nudges as far as who you are and why I need to connect with you.
Yep. And I love this mark actually. Give me this mark as a pattern and I will love it even more.
Yeah, exactly.
That
Yeah.
like just tessellate that, to
Hmm.
where it goes vertical and then to the side.
Yeah.
Do like huge tessellation of that and it will be gorgeous.
There you go.
All right,
I
we
like that
talked
idea.
almost to the end. I knew we were going to do this today, so I'm
Boom. Look
so
at
glad that we are kind of
that.
making it. So what I want you all to do in these last 4 minutes is we are just going to give you a quick overview. Nick, can you post a link to the case study that you were going to talk about for your
I
process if
sure
you have it
will.
anywhere?
Yeah.
So Nick's going to drop that in chat for us. Check that out and walk through the kind of process that you see in that case study, to observe Nick's process a little bit more. And while we do that, I want everyone to go right here. Oh, almost right over there. To a little bit other way, right there, to our bit.ly/office hours fall. Go ahead and plug in, give us your answers on if you want to participate in this free online class that we are going to launch for office hours. Let us know if you want to engage with homework, if you want to have the finals, what subjects you'd like us to cover. All of
Yeah.
that is on there. So I definitely want you to fill that out. We want to cater it especially to you. And then we're going to try to give you resources to invite your friends, to tell your instructors, to tell your universities that there is a free online course taught by non-credited professors. It's not for any actual credits, but we have given credits before.
Yeah.
It is actually worth 1 million credits, with at no university. But we will teach you all the things that you need to know. It will be a live class. So go there. Let us know if you want this class, if you want us to do it. We can also continue in the current format of doing portfolio reviews back and forth. But let us know your thoughts right there. And yes, Katrina, today went by so fast.
Totally fast. That was the fastest hour. I was just thinking too, we're going to have a digital diploma for everybody that's going to be participating with it as well.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
Come on.
Yes.
Like
Yep.
that's going to be a blast.
Yep. And if
That's
it's
going to
your
be
birthday, you need
fantastic.
to send us cupcakes. That's the rule.
Exactly.
That's the rule. I feel
I
like
love
sending
it.
apples and gifts to your teachers. I will accept any food donations that come to my door.
That is fantastic.
Every single time.
1 million credits by Adobe XD. I love
Yeah, absolutely. Why not? Cool. So
Excellent.
let's definitely recap what we talked about today. Nick, what were your big takeaways today from our process
I'm
talk?
going to say learn with every project you do. Take those notes. The sample I posted to you guys is really the project that created my entire structure of how I learned so much in this project because it was the biggest one probably I've ever kind of gotten myself into as a solo business owner. So learn from all those different things. Take the notes, find out what's working for you, what's working for your clients. Think like a fortune teller. Try to predict those things that are going to come along in the future. Be there before the client gets it, and you come out the winner.
Yep. So my biggest takeaway is the slide that we covered last. This is the thing that I try to work on is make anything in a day, anything good in a week, and anything great in a month. There are times that I am in a meeting with a client about to pitch something and they are talking to someone else in the room and they're like, man, we saw this thing and it was really cool. It was like this blue color that was like totally insane. And I literally am going through the deck and changing everything to blue, like right there in the meeting. And I'm like, cool, I have 10 seconds to do this. I know that I have enough in my expertise of the tools to go do this and work the process in literally 30 seconds. Right? That I'm examining the past of what we had, considering the present that this is something the client is talking about, and creating the future. Now it's blue. So again, that's scaling down to 30 seconds. You want that process and you want to work it. So that is the end of our time. Thank you so much for joining us today. We have our friend.
Great weekend.
Yes, Howard Pinsky is up next doing the Adobe XD Challenge. We have a nice Howard Pinsky sandwich. He was right before us and he's right after us. So hi, Howard. Thanks for joining us. And we will see you all next week. Make sure you go take that survey and let us know what you want to see on office hours. Bye.
Bye, guys.